In this video clip, we want to try and create a menu bar using styles. So what I've done is, if you taken the website that we used in the styles part 9 video clip, and I've copied that and made it into a menu, and then renamed the folder to menu bar, and opened that up into with Expression Web. But again, you could use any editor, right? Because we're just using the code section. So a quick look at what we have then. If you look at the styles, I'll let you see what we have. The only thing that might have changed from that last one was maybe I think the div footer was 25 pixels. I made it 23. I might have changed the background color as well. But I think for the most part everything else is the same, but you can double check. For the default page, we have our div wrapper, and inside that we have our header div block, our content div block, which contains our table, and then we have our footer div block down here, all inside the div wrapper, right? So the idea now is to create a menu bar, and we'll take a look, that would go right underneath the header area. So what we'll do is we'll make this a little wider, and we'll make it a little bit longer, and style it that way, right? So let's try that. So first, let's go back to styles. We'll make the div wrapper, let's say 800 pixels, give it a little bit more width and a little bit more height. Okay, and then that height will allow us to, now we could make this, I'm going to make my menu bar 20 pixels in height. So that means I've increased the total height by 100, so I'll just increase this height by 80, and then we'll put in our div block here for for the menu bar. But let me go back to default and put it in. So I'll come over here, and right between the div header and div content, I'm going to do div ID div menus, right? This will be our menu div block. Okay, and then inside this div block, let's put in the UL, put in our unordered list, right? And we'll come down here and do the anchor tag, href, and this is going to be default, right? .htm, and of course it's home. And what I'm going to do here, you'll see in a second, is instead of calling it home for the others, I'll call it property 1 and property 2. Might be a little confusing. I probably, in hindsight, should not have named them home 1 HTM, and I guess we don't have home 2 HTM yet, but we would. So this would be home 1 HTM, but let's call it property 1, right, just to kind of avoid confusion with the home page, if you will. And we don't have property or home 2 yet, but we'll go ahead and put the link in here for it anyway, because we would like this menu to be on all of our pages, right? So we'll set it up this way. Let's do what I'm doing here. See what happens. Okay, so we got that set up. There it is. So now let's preview this in the browser. What does it look like? Now, of course, we don't have a style in there for div menu yet. So let's refresh this. So there it is. You can see it's way disjointed, kind of out of shape, right? But it is wider, and we have the bullets there. So we need to get rid of the bullets and a few other things. So let's go ahead and do that. So coming back to styles, and we'll put in our div menu block, or div menu style, right? Div menu, right? And what we'll do here is inside this, let's make it, we'll say width of 100 pixels, right? Because it's going to be the same width as, take up the width inside the wrapper, and our height then is going to be 20 pixels, right? So we'll do that. So then when we do that, what happens? Let's save this and refresh. And again, you can do this often. Goes away. What happened to our menu? It's gone. Well, for some reason, because we have a color in the background, we can't see it. So what we have to do then, in the content div block, we have a color here, right? And for some reason, it overlays that. It's like it's a layer, and it goes behind it. So now if I refresh, now you'll see it. Okay. So we need to make it stretch it out on the left and get rid of the bullets. So let's do that. So what we'll do is, let's go back to default, and I'll create a class. I'm going to create a class file, class style. So we'll do a period for that, right? We'll call it menu bar. So it doesn't have to be on a list item, although that's, or an unordered list, although that's primarily what you would use. And to get rid of the we need to get rid of the bullets. So for an unordered list, to do that, it would be list style type :none, right? None. And then if you do this and refresh, and now the thing of it is I have to put it on the UL, right? So class equals, and if you saved it, it should have come up in the IntelliSense. I'm not sure why it didn't. Let me just try this again now that I've saved my style, and see if it does this. Right, class equal, and there it is, menu bar. Okay, I'm sure Dreamweaver and other editors do the same thing. So now if I refresh, Okay, now that they're gone. Now the next thing to do is let's get it going horizontal. Right, so let's try that. So that would be with the list item. So what we could do is do menu bar, right, menu bar, LI. And LI is a child of menu bar. Okay, and to get rid of the, I'll explain that in a minute, but to get rid of the bullet item, it's going to be what? How do we do that? To get it to go horizontal, sorry. That would be position relative, right? Position relative, float left. And now we should see it right there. So let's take a look and refresh it. But now there's no width between them, right? So we have to set that up. So let me explain the child situation again. If you look at the default, we have our class menu bar. Now LI, since it's inside of this UL with this class, it's a child, and the anchor tag is also a child, or in this case, it could be actually a grandchild. So we're styling. We could style the LIs, but we don't want to style all the list items in our documents or our web pages the same way. So what this is doing is by putting this menu bar LI there, it's saying wherever you see the sequence, basically this parent-child sequence, apply the style to that sequence only. So in other words, all the LIs in your web page wouldn't have this style, only the ones that have a parent of menu bar. And you could do this with you know, the IDs as well. You know, you can and even regular tags, like I could do paragraph tag. Whenever you see a TD in a paragraph or LI, you know, you can style it that way where one could be the parent. All right, so we have that. Now the next thing is same thing. We can do the anchor tag. We want to get rid of the underline, right? So that's the anchor tag. So menu bar A. Now I could have put LI and then A, but this is enough, right? That I know, so it'll find that pattern. So text decoration none is how we get rid of the underline, right? And we also want to give it a width, we said. So we want to give this a width. So let's say each menu gets 120 pixels in width. And we'll make it the same height too. Height of, say, 20 pixels, right? Because that's the height of the whole thing. So we'll set that up. So let's preview that and see what that looks like. Refresh. Now it's set up. It's not too bad. You can see it there. Okay, now the only thing you have to look at is, notice the hand only appears over the text. Once I go over the full width of the list item, it's not there. So what we can do is create a block. You know, like a div is a block type of tag, and we want to make an anchor into that. So what we can do is in the anchor style is say display block, and now watch what happens. Right? If we save it now, what we get is let's come back here and refresh. And now I can go all the way over. Notice that. And but the thing is, you don't know, well, am I at property or at home? So we have to figure that out. Okay. Next, I think we should change the color so we can see kind of where we are. Now to do that, this div menu is not right now. It's sort of rogue, I guess. It's outside. We don't have position relative float left, so it doesn't know where it should really be. Luckily it's lining up the way we want, but we wanted to go to position, right? Position relative float left, and now this is going to change it. It's going to make it look like it's not. It shouldn't be there, or it's going to make us change some other things. But now we should really do that. So otherwise we won't see a color there. So now it jumps it down. So what we have to do is we have to change the top margin of the LI of the class menu bar, the UL. Top margin top, because a lot of tags have a default margin of 1 or so. If we make the top margin 0, okay, and save it, now it comes back up to the top. Let's see. There we go. So now we're back to where we still have the problem of not knowing where everything ends. Now we could set some colors in here, and again, you may want to have your div menu and your menu bar have the same background color. Right, because depends on what you want to do. So let's just for kicks, so we can see where we are with this, right? Background color, and we'll make this a dark gray. So I'll do dark gray here, dark gray, right? And so we'll see what that looks like. Refresh, save. There it is. So we can see how that's looking. Not too bad. Now let's make the so that is the div block. Now let's do the same thing for the unordered list, which is the menu bar style, right? and we'll make this light gray so you can see where we are. And sometimes it's good to put the colors in the background like this, background colors, so you can see where everything is. Oops, what happened here? Didn't work. Oh, because, why? Well, because I don't have a height and width. Colors aren't gonna, so I need a height and width. So I could take this again, make it 100% if I want to, right? Which was going to give me some problems. Let me put this down the next line. Right, and this is the UL. But again, the background color, because there's no height and width, there's nothing to show. So if I'll do this now, see what happens. Now you can see it's light gray. It took the whole thing, but it also bumped it out here because, remember, an unordered list is indented. So it's indented. It's usually about 40 pixels, I think is the default. So what I could do is menu bar, I could make it explicit. The whole width is 800. I could make this 760 pixels, and that would make it line up just right, because it's about 40 pixels or so for the indent for a UL. Okay, and that makes it right. Now, or the other thing is, maybe you don't want your menu bar to be the whole thing. Maybe you want it to be, say, 600, right? Like so. And then let's take a look at what happens. Now you see the dark gray for the menu bar behind it, or the div block, and then here's your UL. Now maybe you want to center it, right? You could center the UL. You could do that too. So you could do, in this case, you would do margin colon auto, right? As long as the width is not the full width, you can do margin auto, and it will center it in that inside that block. And so you might like it like that. So it depends on what you want, right? I'm going to leave it like this just so you can see the differences. Again, and this is a case where you may want to have the div menu the same color as your UL. The next thing we want to do is do a hover effect, right? So we want to do that. So I'm going to come down over here, and we want menu bar, A, and then the hover effect, right? So we can have a different style when we hover over it. So I'll say color red, and we'll do a background color of, say, white. All right? Just so we can see as we move over this. Okay, so we'll save that and see what it takes to look like. Oops, wrong one. Let's do this one. Refresh. Now as we move over it, you can see kind of where it is. Now what you might want to do is put some padding in here. So let's try some padding because it kind of bumps right up against it. So you may do that. So the question is, do you put the padding on the LI or the anchor? And that will depend on what the effect you want. Right, so let's put it on the LI for right now. So I could say padding left, maybe 3 pixels. Padding right, let's do 7. Maybe we'll keep it in groups of 10. 7 pixels. Oops. All right, and save it. And remember, we have our list item as 120 pixels, right? And so now there's a little bit of a gap there. The left didn't work out. I got to look at that. But you can see there's a little bit of gap now. Now keep in mind, 120 pixels, if you had 6 menu bar items, it may grow over. So you have to adjust your height there. Nevertheless, I kind of want to show you how that worked. Now this table's kind of up pretty close to it. You may like that, you may not. You could style it again with padding or with margin. Or you could go into default like this, and maybe you put a BR tag or a paragraph tag right below the table like this if you just want it to be a constant thing, where it sits a little bit below. Right, and now there you go. Right. The other thing you need to know is where what page you're currently on, and we'll do that in the next video clip. We'll save this one here, and we'll come back and finish up in the next clip.